Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 1 of our next best of 3 here for the ESL Pro Tour Americas. Number 3. In the top left position, we have the blue Terran player. He is Juggernaut Jason, a man who does things in the shower that no human being should do. You filthy animals, I'm saying he conditions before he shampoos. Get your mind out of the gutter. He goes up against the red Protoss in the southeast. His name is PuCK from Root Gaming. But not someone that would need to call Roto Rooter. Sorry, I really tried to force that pun. And a nice little Terran versus Protoss game. Oh boy. You know, sometimes in the qualifiers, I don't know, that word is still stuck in my head because of the IEM qualifiers. But sometimes in these weekly cups, it is a weekly cup. You get like, usually have to wait like, 2 or 3 rounds before you can get to some high level players hitting each other. But these guys are both top of the top of North America. PuCK, been a pro forever. My first time running into PuCK was, I don't even know why the game let this happen, but I hit him on the ladder. He was Grandmaster. I think I was Diamond. I don't even know how it happened. And he Colossus dropped me and made meme jokes. And I thought that he was like a Huck Smurf because his name was PuCK. And I've never heard of PuCK before. And anyway, he's been around in the scene for a really long time. And when I think back to big accomplishments during Hyun's reign of terror, when Hyun and Polt and Revival and them were dominating WCS America, PuCK was actually one of the few American players that regularly beat up on those Koreans, especially the Korean Zerg players. He had a couple of fantastic series against Hyun, and he's had his moments, his bright spots back and forth since then. But PuCK is a great competitor, and I would say a great friend. Similarly for me to Jason, although I don't think Jason's really been at that level quite as long. Most notably for Jason, in 2019, he did finally qualify for the WCS Americas Challenger, and he put up a couple of good games there, but made it, you get your first appearance, your first birth there, right? And you're going to get brutalized by some really difficult competitors, and that's just the way that it is sometimes. There's really only so much you can do there. Now, one thing that we can say for sure that we know about PuCK, he loves to play weird. He loves to do funny stuff. Do not be surprised by anything that happens in this game. Both of these players stream regularly. Jason is a top Terran player, and PuCK similarly a top Protoss. I think they both play half and half on Europe and NA ladder. I think PuCK might play Korea sometimes. They're both East Coast based, so it's a little bit harder to play on the Asian servers. So we do have a Phoenix opening. I'm a little bit surprised by that. Generally, you'd think that Protoss players like to open up with oracles to try and get some worker damage done against their opponents with that harass. But instead, it's going to be this handful of adepts. And Jason is already thinking about weird stuff, right? He's opened straight to a tank and a medevac. And maybe he's going to try to do a little bit of a quick marine drop or something here, or he's going to build up for like a 2-tank push without stim, which could very well do a significant amount of damage, considering that it's just Phoenix and there's no Twilight Council yet. So there's really no power units that are going to be coming out on the map anytime soon. These adepts did put a little bit of a beating onto the Marines. But look at this. He loads up the second tank with the first one, and they're going to chase behind these Marines. So he's basically saying, I want to try and immediately put some very quick pressure onto my Protoss opponent, especially since he went for the Stargate. Now, he doesn't know any of this, which I find absolutely fascinating, because PuCK's built these Phoenix, but he's just kind of been pocketing them at home. And maybe it's because these guys have been playing a lot on the ladder and I haven't been able to see it, but the Phoenix can lift up the tanks. So there is some synergy here with the army composition for PuCK to try and do something against Jason, especially with the Immortal. But it can get awkward very quickly if you're not super careful. So Jason was looking for a fast third Nexus from the Protoss, and he doesn't see it. So he immediately turns around, uses the medevac to try to save a few of those Marines, and he says, all right, I'm going to start my third command center and go home. because now I know that my third is not going to be... Now I know that my third base isn't going to be later than the Protoss. And in the current metagame for StarCraft 2, Terran versus Protoss generally ends up being a lot of pressure from the Terran onto a Protoss. That does take a pretty quick third base. So usually you see a lot of attacks that are designed around shutting it down, much like we saw in this game. But now that PuCK has been able to kind of get the push away from him, he's just coming here, bringing the harass, putting on his own little bit of pressure. 5 SCVs. He did lose 1 Phoenix, but that's it. And look at the probe count, 51 to 36. So he started to start that third Nexus later than this command center, but this still needs time to transform into an orbital. It's going to take another 20 or so seconds to morph it. 25 seconds. And then he has to lift it and move it. So by the time he gets that command center over there, this Nexus will be close to finishing. And with the worker lead that PuCK's been able to accrue, by playing this a little bit more slowly and not losing anything, you could get some serious damage done, because he's still putting on the SCV harass, grabs a mule there, not the fresh one, but you're putting on a little bit of pressure. He's getting some pylons out on the map. This I really love to see. Every Protoss player should do this. Observers, they cost supply, they take up your robo time, they're expensive. But any mark of a good Protoss, you see PuCK will always do this. Tries to throw it on the pylon on the edge of the map somewhere. Yeah, you know, it's not invisible and you can lose it a bit more easily. But, you know, it's information, it's vision. And what does that mean? Well, instead of building 10 observers and trying to put them everywhere, he's just going straight back into immortal production, getting charged, and a robotics bay. So being able to get this many immortals this early on is just going to be really nice, because you still have to keep in mind that Jason built these tanks earlier on. He has that Cyclone, and the possibility of him bringing some sort of siege push, very real. And charged zealots are going to be great against that. Immortals are going to be fantastic at focus firing down. I would say Marauders normally, but in this instance, it would be the tanks. It looks like Jason's playing a very Marine tank heavy composition. So his third command center lands. PuCK's got that third completely saturated with a solid 15 worker lead. And he's just starting to string units and pylons around the map. He's getting the observer coverage improved. He's got that low band frequency, you know what I'm saying? Long range coverage, baby. Long range. Armory boots up for Jason as his 1-1 gets closer and closer to finishing. Phoenix do give a little bit of a poke to the Raven. You don't want to lose that Raven, but it's very unwieldy to bring in with Terran unit composition, since you're trying to micro stim and the Raven takes priority in the unit command card. But he runs some adepts into the natural while he pressures at the front. 3 adepts make their way into the natural. We have 2 going straight over to the mineral line in the main base, so some SCVs should be taking damage. He does not have an attack upgrade, so the adepts need 3 hits to kill the SCVs. So at the end of the day, this doesn't end up really doing a whole lot of damage. It takes so many hits to actually kill anything here. Yeah, and there you go. That one SCV that was low on health, he's no longer near it, but the rest of the units are coming over to the natural. So with the sentries here, gets a bit of a grab on the army there, and he's going to try and push over to this left side. Gets a Dorito cannon onto the Immortals. That does affect the shields as well. So he says, all right, I'm going to pull out, just completely recall. After killing 6 SCVs, he goes straight home. Templar Archives is almost done. Colossus is coming out. He's got Extended Thermal Lance. So PuCK still has a lot of key pieces in place. He's got his 4th Nexus finishing up. But now it is time for Jason to strike back. And this is actually kind of nice if he still had the Raven. Where's the Raven? Oh, it's dead. It's super dead. Of course it is. Ravens die so fast. Mostly because they're very expensive. If you're a Protoss player, you should try to focus a Raven if you get a chance. Let's be honest. So it's mostly Marines, which actually ends up being to his benefit against the Immortals and Zealots. But Archons are being added, and the Big Daddy Colossus. The Big Daddy Colossus does a lot of damage to those Marines, and it's not necessarily that Marauders would be an incredible addition here. It's mostly that Marauders soak up, if you can do it right, and that Observer sees everything, by the way. It's if the Marauders can soak up some of the Colossus hits, or just their bulkier size just naturally spreads the army out a little bit more. So the Phoenix come in, do a little more poking. 3 of them die. There's no Warp Prism, so he's not threatening like a charge lot warp in or some sort of, you know, weird mega harass. Weird's not really the right term here, but with the Phoenix mostly gone, his ability to harass as well is mostly gone. And he's going to come poke the front a little bit, let the Immortals soak up with that barrier, try to crack a depot open. This is a very nice defensive position for Jason, though. And there's really not a whole lot that PuCK can do to attack into this specific spot. You need to get that prism. You need to pull the Terran apart. And with the way that his army composition is set up now, that's just not really possible. So PuCK says, all right, I'm going to take the bottom left base. We're going to move ourselves up onto 5 total bases. And Jason's been kind of stuck inside of his base. You know, you feel a little bit of the fear when you're trying to do drops in Terran versus Protoss, and the Protoss opens up with Phoenix. It can get really, really, really suffocating to be surrounded by that. And PuCK tried to build a Nexus at Jason's base outside. This is technically a base the Terran should take. He tries to build a Nexus here, which is insane. But the hard part about this is, yes, you've revealed yourself, you've canceled something, but now the rest of the units are here. PuCK, he doesn't have Blink. Not yet, so Medevac will live to fight another day. He scans the foreign observer here, but he's got the Phoenix on patrol. He's got a Zealot. He's watching everything. And Jason just says, look, I want to get my 4th base set up. The command center is making its way to the northeast expansion. So we've got PuCK now on 5 bases. Jason is attempting to secure base number 4. He's got Vikings coming out to help with the Colossi, and he does have Ghosts. Plenty of Ghosts to help deal with the possibility of Psystorm. But PuCK has 3 Warp Prisms? Nani? 1 Archon and the rest of Zealots. So this is wild. Okay, so he's going to walk into a mine and trigger that. Look at the sensor towers, by the way. He gets a sick EMP off on these prisms. He's just going to try and do a Zealot drop flank while his army attempts to sandwich on the left side, but it is going to fail miserably as he gets blasted by EMPs. And Jason's army is just too big. PuCK playing this one real fancy-like, but I'm not sure that that was a good attempt of a fight there. Maybe he should have tried to just, I don't know, just throw the prisms at his base. But since he got caught, seemed like he panicked a little bit. The big scans from Jason, he's like, where's the army? Where's the meat? The prisms are all here, but he's basically got an army of mass Zealots now. And Jason, he's not behind on upgrades. So those Zealots, those Dev and Hester lots, are not going to be able to get the damage done that they need with the reduction in the charge damage from the previous patch. Zealots on their own can't kill whole entire armies anymore. He's going to try to do it anyway, though. The prism's trying to be a distraction. Zealots coming in from the top side, but they actually whiff because they don't show up on the rest of the units there. They do hit the tanks as the 3rd base takes some hits. We have 2 Colossi out. He's continuing to add Zealots. The one thing PuCK isn't missing is economy, but I just don't know that he has all the units out he needs to stop this push. Gets 1 pretty solid storm out, but he has plenty of medevacs to continue to heal. The siege tanks do drop. And he's kind of just trying to drown Jason's army in his own blood. But with these Vikings here, yeah, no, the Colossi are going to die. And I just don't think that PuCK has the time to put the resources he's been gathering into use in a way that's going to allow him to take this game. Jason's control and his patience paying off in spades here. In game number 1 of round 2. I don't actually know if this is round 2. A lot of players get a first round bye because the way that the seeding works to try and give an advantage to the better players coming into it. Anyway, PuCK's new Colossus comes out, immediately dies. You can't explain that. The natural expansion is under fire. Another Colossus dies. He's desperately trying to warp in Stalkers. His +3 armor gets so close to finishing. And it's sad because he's taking all this damage, but he's actually still got a pretty good amount of income. 69 probes. Nice. As the Liberator siege over the front of the natural, that is going to be the coffin closing on this game for our Root Gaming Protoss player. He will no longer be able to move between his bases. And that's really going to seal the deal here because now he can go back to the other expansions. He can lock this down. And Jason takes a whomping 76-25 army supply lead. And what are you going to do? He's got a disruptor that's going to pop, but he's going to need the dirtiest disruptor shot we've ever seen in the history of dirty disruptor shots. And I mean, Jason's going to actually have to intentionally try to put all of his units very close together so that they all blow up. There goes the disruptor shot, hits literally nothing. And he just has 1 Stalker, right? 1 Stalker to try and kill this Liberator. I don't think it's going to work. Actually, the Stalker's a bit injured too, so it should die in 2 hits to the Liberator. Some Templar coming out and trying to get some storms, but we have to remember that EMP is also on the table. EMP is on the table. The observer sees everything. I love Jason scanning, and now he's like, oh, you greedy son. And that could be a part of the reason why PuCK wasn't able to build the army that he wanted to. He put a lot of static defense at these bases. I mean, 5 photon cannons this expansion wasn't attacked all game. Not that it's bad because, you know, he was going to be rich, but it just seems like all PuCK needed to do was buy himself another minute before that big fight, and he would have had a pretty insurmountable economy. And if he could do anything with the warp prisms to keep Jason from pushing him, this game would have looked very different. But Jason just in an absolutely dominant position, and PuCK is saying to himself, look, I've got Storm, I do have some disruptors, I am going to try to make something happen here because, you know, it's a tournament, they're being cast, he wants to put on a good show. Actually, PuCK might be streaming now, if I'm being honest. I don't know. Jason does get 3 medevacs over towards the right side base. Fusion core is coming in for, I would guess, Liberator range. Once that's out on the field, there's really not a lot Protoss can do anymore, especially with how little the economy is for PuCK now. And that bottom left base is going to be destroyed. 5 photon cannons does not stop 40 supply of Terran. Yeah, the Liberator in the back as well. He does recall these probes out, but I mean, this is like playing Sea of Thieves and you've gotten like 40 cannonballs through the side of your boat and you're playing solo and you're just trying to pour the water out as it's all coming in, and it's not possible. It's just not. You need a full crew, all hands on deck, and well, his crew was that bottom left and the bottom left base, and they're both dead. So as the torrents continue to rise, does land a pretty good storm, but the thing is, it's a lot easier for Jason to replace anything he loses now, and a paltry counterattack just won't be enough here. Taps out. Jason takes game number 1 against PuCK.